Hey there, so this video is on the subject of um, the possibility of depopulation on Earth. And the first thing that I need to make abundantly clear at the outset is that I am not proposing or even talking about any kind of, government planned, purposeful depopulation, not whatsoever. This is just about Earth coming into some kind of a natural balance. And sort of my you know propulsion to discuss this topic comes about from a discussion that I had from somebody on Facebook. This was actually like a year ago or something. We started off talking about universal health coverage, and I was pro universal health coverage, and he was against it. And he ended up launching into his basically anarchist views of not wanting government whatsoever. And I was seeking to sort of discuss things from two different angles, which is that basically I agree. I am also anarchist in the sense that I believe in tribalism, in that ultimately human societies on Earth should govern themselves in terms of small local populations being in charge of their own affairs. And that this concept of massive nations in which, the capital of the country is thousands of miles away, and you may never even been there or anywhere near there, and they're the ones dictating your, how you're supposed to live your life. That is not a paradigm that I am in favor of. However, there are 7 billion people on the planet. And this was something that I was trying to get across to him, this sort of splitting paradigms of, yes, I'm in favor of some kind of a, anarchy, if you want to call it that. And yet, there is the reality of 7 billion people on the planet. And I'm no, expert on all these matters. This is an extremely complicated topic, to say the least. But I don't see how you meet the needs of 7 billion people on the planet without oil being a source of energy, nuclear power, massive complicated highway systems, factory farming, computer systems, satellites, etc. All of this modern technology that we are, extremely dependent on in order to run our societies. And this fellow that I was having this discussion with offered the example of, he was talking about, and he was very knowledgeable on a variety of political topics, including American history. And he was talking about how back in late 1800s or so, then things were very localized in terms of the government. People managed their own roads and collected their own taxes, and they were very much managing their own affairs. Here's the thing: there were not 7 billion people on the planet at that time. There were less than 2 billion people on the planet, I believe, in around 1900. So there would have been closer to a billion and a half, in the late 1800s. And that is a whole different ballgame entirely. So that very much brings up the question of depopulation. And can humanity actually survive, considering the predicament that we're in this, very, pivotal and challenging time in human history? Can we actually, survive looking forwards decades, centuries, without some dramatic reductions in human population? And I'm not going to claim to, know the answer to that. But as best I can tell, I don't see how we move forward into the future without some dramatic population reduction. So there are a variety of major issues that humanity faces. One is that we have a very profound economic crisis that most people are, completely unaware of, other than just hearing some rumblings. There's the government shutdown and the debt ceiling debate going on, which is kind of, surface stuff basically. But there are, mainstream economists and business insiders who are warning that the current economic scenario is so bad that it is going to result in major, economic collapse coming, in the course of the next several years, if not sooner. That could result in, major rioting, extreme disruptions that could actually result in, people starving and whatnot. So that's just one little thing, and that's just the beginning. There's also global warming, and I'm, aware of the various debates on the subject. Now, personally, it seems clear that global warming is happening. I believe in, that there are conspiracies going on. I do not believe that thousands of scientists are, lying to the public about the numbers that show that global warming is happening, the oceans are warming, and whatnot. There are people who, such as David Wilcock, who propose that it is actually a solar system-wide event, that the, climates on the other planets are being affected as well. And there are those who say that it's just a cyclical thing. Regardless, global warming does very much seem to be happening. And, absent some kind of a sudden reversal, then, it could very well impact, global populations, low-lying cities around the world that are going to be impacted by rising sea levels. It is also, resulting in the death of coral reefs. And, I just saw a story yesterday about, jellyfish, extreme abundance of jellyfish, in the world's oceans that are, choking off other, animals in the oceans, and fish are dying off. This is another tremendous problem for humanity. There is also the conundrum of nuclear power. And this isn't making much headlines whatsoever. I did a video on this a few weeks ago, but the Fukushima nuclear situation is far from over and has the potential of getting much worse, and is just, if anything, an example that nuclear power is not a rational solution to our energy needs, that it is incredibly volatile and, has the potential of wreaking extreme havoc around the planet, and, is threatening to do that from Fukushima. But you have a situation where you have, hundreds or thousands, I don't know what the number is, of nuclear power plants all around the world. And if there was some kind of an event that, such as a, massive solar flare along the lines of the 1859 Carrington event, which fried telegraph wires, it was such a major solar storm. If you had something along those lines, which is perfectly possible, it's happened before. There was an even much larger one, somewhere around 800 AD. There was an even much bigger solar flare. But if you had some kind of event such as that, and there are other, other possibilities that knocked out the power grids, nuclear power plants only have a backup supply of electricity for a limited time. And if you had, nuclear power plants that ended up going into meltdown mode because of a power disruption that lasted longer than a few weeks, then you have hundreds of Fukushima, meltdown disasters happening all over the planet, and you have, an extinction level event, as they call it. Basically, nuclear power is not a sustainable source of energy. Oil, obviously is not a infinite resource. From what I gather, they've discovered massive new oil fields in Australia and elsewhere, such that um, oil running out in the near future may not be a reality. But regardless, it is still finite, and it is massively environmentally very unsound, and may very well be one of the major contributing causes to global warming. It also is not a long-term solution for powering humanity. So there you go. That kind of sums up my basic thoughts on the subject of the predicament that we're in. So if deer get too large in numbers and overgraze and reduce their food supply, then nature takes its course. They go into starvation mode. It cuts back their numbers significantly, and then with less numbers, and they aren't impacting the environment and eating up as much of their food source, and then eventually they come back into balance. And so that's what I'm talking about here, is what is the realistic, sustainable balance of humanity on the planet Earth. And there are lots of different alternative resources that we could be utilizing in terms of energy in order to meet humanity's energy needs. The thing is, oil and nuclear power are in reality highly productive sources of energy. The amount of energy that is concentrated in oil is very extreme. You get a hell of a lot of energy out of a barrel of oil versus wind power, solar power, hydroelectric, and these various natural, sort of natural other than the, high technology that's needed to extract it, sources of energy. There are many, other alternative sources of energy. Nikola Tesla, demonstrated other ways of extracting energy that were suppressed by the oil companies. I don't know a whole lot about all that stuff, but perhaps there are other sources of energy that could truly meet the needs of 7 billion people on the planet. In my just, personal opinion, it seems to me that planet Earth is not really designed to support such vast numbers of humans. And it may sound cruel or insensitive or unfeeling or whatever to suggest that there should be less people on the planet, but that's just the ebb and flow of life and death. That the dinosaurs came and then they were wiped out and became extinct, and there have been millions of years of species coming and going and evolving and hitting their brick walls of survival as a result of various events and coming out of balance and then things coming back into balance. And we are in a critical phase, the likes of which the Earth has most likely never seen. And something's going to have to give. Something's going to have to happen here, in my view, in order for things to come back into balance, in order for humanity to come back into a state of living that is truly in balance and in respect of the natural world and the natural cycles of life. And that may very well involve there being less humans on Earth sometime in the future, and in the relatively near future, when you think of the vast cycles of time of Earth, possibly in the coming decades, certainly in the coming centuries, and maybe in the next 5, 10, 20 years. We'll see. Obviously, we're all here to witness it, and we'll find out quite possibly in many of our lifetimes. So that's my thoughts on the subject. Feel free to post your comments below if you have any additional information. I'm no expert on these subjects, just, soaking things up here and there and trying to put the pieces together and come up with a realistic view of where we're really at and what the solutions are and what the future really looks like. So thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good day.